Are we good?
We're good.
Yeah, we're live. We're hot. What's going on, Misfits? Me and Jay have decided that we're going to do a live stream kind of going over the new frame because we got some kind of not great quality 3D printed versions of it delivered, and we did some cool stuff to it. So I figured the easiest way to kind of go over what's changed with it and why things are the way they are is to just do a quick video and kind of talk to everybody about it. So we're going to start with the frame itself. So we set this up to where, depending on like how many people are playing, you can put the whole thing together or you can keep it separated. So if I want to be more laid back and kind of play like this with all my stuff over here, I can do that. And if there's only 2 people playing, or if there's 3 people playing, 4 people playing, you get the idea, the way counting works. We're also included magnets into the frame this time. So when you put it together, everything just kind of snaps in place. And there's no real way to put it together wrong anymore, which I know some people had issues with. Like Jay, I think he destroyed like quite a few frames when we first started.
Just a couple.
So what we did is we tried to get rid of the character sheet for the one-off stuff. You'll still be using a character sheet and pen and pencil, or pencil and paper for when you're doing legacy stuff, when you're keeping track of like experience points and your hellets items and how many hellets you have and all that kind of stuff. But to sit down and just play the board game in the one-off version, you don't need a character sheet anymore. You don't need pen and paper. Everything's done using the Aerie Control Panel, which is what these little guys are. There's lots of different things going on here. The first is this. This will be the first thing that you'll kind of be using with it. This is the initiative die. We got rid of the action point system the way it used to work, and we'll go over that more in a later video. But essentially what you need to know right now in reference to the frame is you're going to have your initiative. 1, 2, 3, 4 different players or 2 different players, whatever that is. When you do your rolls and you determine your initiative and you determine what your action ratio is, again, something we'll cover later, you're going to want to know what you rolled on that die. Okay, so let's say I rolled a 3 and my initiative is second. So I'm going to put this right here in the second. And everybody will go along with their turns. We can always refer back to this, and when it gets to me, we've kind of got it locked in what my initiative ratio thing was. So that's why that's there. This is how you're keeping track of all of your health now. Again, just like in the original version, it's not about killing the opposing Lannister's hellet. It's more about how much fame you achieve during the fight. This makes that a little bit easier to grasp going forward, because as I'm doing damage to my opponent's hellets, I'm grabbing these coins out of the location. So let's say I do 5 overall damage and I do 5 damage to the left upper. I'm going to grab 5 of his coins out of his overall counter, and then I'm going to grab 5 from the left upper over here, and I'm going to add it into my pile. And this pile is going to be counted up at the end of the match. Whoever has the most coins wins. There's also a crowd pile that's going to be going on as well, and that's where you're going to get things for when you're doing your turning point counter. Because once you fill up your turning point counter and you have a successful turning point attack, you get to pick all these coins up and add them to your pile. Now, what happens when hazards and things like that hit you? Well, you're going to be taking those coins and you're going to be putting those back into the crowd pile. So you're not only trying to beat the other Lannisters, but you're also trying to get more coins than what's in the crowd pile at the end of the match. So let's say it's a quick match and somebody just gets taken out by some floor saws. Well, that crowd pile is going to be bigger than either of the Lannisters' piles, so that match is essentially going to be a draw. No one's really going to win that one, other than the other Lannister being out a hellet. Now, over here, you have your trait counters. So, I didn't grab a trait die. That was dumb. But when you're doing your initiative roll, you're also going to be rolling a trait die, and whatever comes up on that trait die you're going to increase your counters over here. It's got all 6 of the traits here. You've got willpower, you've got instinct, physicality, deafness, swagger, and cunning. You can't read them because this is a really poor 3D print job, but that's what those are, I promise. And as you're rolling those during the initiative phase, you're going to be increasing these by whatever value you roll. You're then going to be able to spend these on unique moves and special things during the bout for your helmet. Other thing that we put into the Aerie Control Panel is just a card holder. And this was just because we had the space in the room and it's pretty convenient. You may pick up a weapon out of a weapon crate and boom, it's just really easy to access, you know, the weapon that you have and what its effects are on your helmet. Same thing with like a turning point card. Some of the turning point cards are going to have persistent effects until something happens. This is Put Me In Coach. So this is one of the little fucker members runs out from the crowd and actually attacks your helmet. Until you get the little guy off, you're stuck with some penalties to your helmet. So you're going to keep this card up here until, again, you get the little guy off. And speaking of the little fuckers, if you guys haven't, go to blood.stream. That's a real website that we have, and you can sign up to sponsor a little fucker. If you haven't done that yet, it's a lot of fun, and you'll get emails over the course of like 8 weeks. It's no promotional emails or anything like that. It's all kind of a thematic, you're Lanista sponsoring a little fucker, and you get reports on how your little fucker's doing. It's great. Blood.stream, sign up for it. You'll be glad you did. I think that's it. Jay, is there anything else? Is there anything I forgot to talk about with this?
No, you covered everything on the frame.
Okay. So that's kind of the deal on the new frame. We've got our vendor is sending us actual kind of production samples of it. So we should have some nicer looking versions of this that we'll take pictures of and show off. But as far as like how it works, you know, this is it. This is the new frame. And we kind of touched on some of the new rules, mechanics, whatever you want to call them, for the game. And we're going to go over that stuff in a lot more detail in the coming weeks and kind of take everything like one component at a time and explain it and spell it out, why we made the changes we made, and what we hope it adds to the game.
Mike Hitch is asking if there's a Kickstarter date.
There isn't a Kickstarter date because I don't know if we're doing a Kickstarter or not. We may just go ahead and make this. We haven't had a lot of fun on Kickstarter as of yet. We feel like there's a difference between designing a game that we want to play and designing a game that is going to do well on Kickstarter. And unless we feel like we can do what we want to do and bring that to Kickstarter, we're probably not going to do it. We're probably just going to make the game. That being said, we may do what a lot of companies do now and just make the game and put it up on Kickstarter as like a pre-order type deal, just because of the publicity it generates. And a lot of people are following this project through Kickstarter, and that's kind of the only access they have to us and what we're doing. So there's no Kickstarter date yet. We're not for sure whether or not we're going to do. No, the answer to your question right now is no. But we're still we're still working all that out. Any other questions from anybody?
No, that was it.
Okay. Yeah. Don't have a Kickstarter date yet. We'll let you know. We'll keep you posted. Obviously, we'll try and let everybody know if we put up a Kickstarter date. That would be one of the smarter things to do. But yeah, that's it with this, and we'll do more live streams in the future, and we'll go over more rules and things like that. So hopefully we'll see it at Adepticon if they don't cancel it. I'm not sure how that's looking right now. It's kind of on the fence. But hopefully they don't, and we'll get to see some of you guys out in Chicago, and you guys will be able to run demos of the new version with Jay in the booth while I do my car salesman pitch to passerbys. So hopefully we'll see you in Chicago, but we'll see.